Hello, I'm Charna Davis-Wiese, and welcome to UCF Profiles. Who says women aren't good at math, or aren't interested in sports, or may not even be interested in hunting dogs? Not Dr. Cynthia Young. Join me in welcoming her as our guest today. All those things, big part of your life: math, dogs, sports.
Yes, ma'am. Nice to be here today.
Thankfully, hairstylist.
Yeah. You're not going to say it, are you?
Just a little. We were getting our hair cut, and we just started to talk. And I said, gosh, I do this show at UCF, and you have any idea of anybody that I can interview? And now, thanks to you, I have about 6 fabulous shows with all your friends.
Good. Yeah, no. UCF has some fabulous professors.
I'm having such a good time with these shows, meeting the coolest people. And you're a math professor.
Correct.
And I have a cousin who's also a PhD in math, who is a math professor, and she's older than you are. And during her time being a math student, there was still a lot of stereotypes that this is not a field for women. And now she's president of some big math league that's way over my head. I don't even know the name of the league, but.
That's right. I also chair Women in Science and Engineering at UCF. The numbers do get smaller and smaller the higher you go. They find in middle school and high school, women and men are pretty much equal in numbers, but then by the time you get to the graduate programs, the women start dying out, and when you get to the faculty ranks, it gets fewer and fewer. In fact, my department doesn't even have a full professor female yet. But we will. We're getting one. We think we're getting several in the next few years.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. And you know what's something? My sister goes on trips with her. Her organization plans trips all over the world. And the first time she went with her, my sister's a professional artist, so this is a totally different mindset than my cousin. And she called me from Greece, and she said, she sees math everywhere. She's finding patterns and everything. And I guess that's something that she taught me that Tina taught her, is that it's everywhere,
right?
And we don't realize it.
That's right. Math is really the backbone to everything. I think it's gotten a lot of press lately with the show Numbers that's on television. Actually, my research is in math modeling of atmospheric effects on laser beams. So that sounds intimidating, but it's not. I always tell everybody, Star Twinkle. Star Twinkle is a good example, and so people are interested in using lasers going through the atmosphere, but it's all mathematical models, and that's what my research is.
You wonder when for me at least, I'm not really a technical person, and I think of things like even how a telephone is made, or how lasers, and I didn't realize that it's mathematical models that make that tell people how to make these things and how it works.
That's right. It's everywhere you see is mathematics. In fact, we even have a program right now at the University of Central Florida that it's a course we're developing called Applications of Calculus, and we have all of these interesting scientists and engineers come in. And so if a student is studying derivatives this week, a forensic scientist walks in and says, okay, here's how I use it in the real world. And we're trying to give them some real tangible experiences with calculus.
And it probably helps a lot with the kids who's saying, why am I learning
Why am I ever
this?
going to use it? I know. But they do, I promise.
So of your classes, what do you teach them? You teach that and what else?
I teach everything from I won't call it the lowest, the first entry-level freshman course we offer at UCF is called College Algebra. Teach that whole sequence, college algebra, trigonometry, pre-calculus, through calculus, differential equations, junior, senior level applied courses, and then I teach 3 graduate courses: special functions, laser propagation through random media, and advanced engineering mathematics. So I teach the whole gamut.
Everything. Do you see math wherever you go, like my cousin does? I mean, do you look for patterns and things, or is it just because she was with all her mathematician friends?
No, I use more statistics. I like Vegas a lot.
Do you do well there?
I do okay. I do better playing skins with my brother in golf, but yeah, no. I guess I'm not as entranced, but I think the true love for me is being able to solve real-world problems. I'm funded by the Department of Defense. I help the Navy solve secure laser comm channels for the soldiers, and to me that's an important contribution that we make. So I find the glory in the interest really in what's the real problem I'm attacking, but I'm not someone who goes around going, oh cool, look at that.
That's what my cousin does. Drove my sister really nuts. But anyway, it seems so foreign and so confusing to me that how do you even do that with the Department of Defense work you do? Is it all on paper? Do you work with engineers who build the lasers?
I do both, and so I'm what you call the front-end scientist. So my research team, which consists of graduate students and colleagues at UCF, we develop what we call theoretical models, which means the military comes to me and says, we want to use optics for this secure communication channel. Will it work? And my job is to go through and do all the theoretical models of saying, you know, I think it will work. Here are the parameters where I think it will work. And then I work with a team at the Naval Research Lab in building an experiment that simulates that. So we actually validate the theoretical models with experiments. So I sort of get to do the front end and then validate it. After that, we don't see it. It goes on to someone else for the real production line of it. So we're really front end.
And do they let you know? Yeah, you were right.
Oh, sure, I know. Well, I know I'm right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know you're right when you're sitting there and you get to get the data from the experiments.
Very cool.
It's
now,
very
so
fun.
many of the people that I've interviewed, especially on profiles, they found their passion very young. A particular professor named Dr. Parkinson, I think.
Yeah, I know him.
Her husband. He found his love for snakes very young. Was this something that you always knew?
Nope. I was one of those kids that math was always my easiest subject. It was always the
I have
easy
a boy
class,
like that.
easy A. Never thought in my life I would be a math professor.
Because you know, a kid, you think, what do you do with this?
No, I thought for sure I was a good athlete, played sports in college, and so I thought I was going to be a high school teacher and coach. That's what I thought I'd do. So I thought I'd be a high school math teacher and softball coach. And just one thing led to another, and started doing research, got funded by NASA, ended up working at the University of Washington, and then came to UCF. So it really evolved.
It was like a serendipity type thing.
Yes,
so
I always tell
things happen.
Whenever I speak at convocations and things like that, I always tell students it's okay if you don't know where you're going, just be prepared when you get there. And that's sort of my motto. If I had no idea I'd end up here, but it's a fun place to be.
Well, that's good to hear for those of us who really did struggle and didn't have a passion and didn't know where we were going.
I always joke too because I failed Calc 2 my freshman. It's awful. I came out
won't
of
tell anyone.
I came out of, swear to God, came out of high school and got in over my head, tried to jump into the advanced calculus, and got burned. And so I always tell students, they're like, no, I'm ready for Calc 2. I'm like, look, I wasn't ready for Calc 2. So,
but you didn't give up.
Nope.
You just kept at it. That's the cool thing, because a lot of people, you know, you fail at once and I'm out of here.
Yeah, no, I think I was a late bloomer, mathematically.
So okay, so you found math later. And you also, but you had sports, and
Correct.
that now you've somehow come back into
yes.
working with sports as well.
Yes, I played sports in high school and college, and after
what did you do?
Softball. In high school, I played all sports, but softball was my best sport I played in college. When I came to UCF, I'm in my 10th year, starting my 10th year this fall. I met Dr. Hitt and I was in a program they have called Leadership Enhancement Program, and he said, "What do you want to do when?" 20 years from now. And I said, I think I want to be a president of a Research One institution. And he said, you do? And I said, yes. And he said, you were a college athlete? And I said, yeah. He says, you know the one thing that a lot of provosts don't have that want to be presidents? And I said, what? He goes, athletic experience. And so he thought this would be a good opportunity for me at UCF. So I currently am the NCAA faculty athletics representative.
Now, what does that mean? What do you do?
Okay, yeah, I know. Sometimes I don't know. Every university has one faculty member that's appointed the NCAA faculty athletics representative. And our role is really, I have three main jobs. The first one is institutional control, which means making sure we're doing things the right way. Academic integrity. So I sign all the student athletes off. I check their grades and sign them off eligible to compete or not.
Now that has been in the past a big. I remember when I was in school. I won't mention where, that there were all these guys on the football team who graduated in my field, and I'd never seen them in class.
Yeah, I will.
That was many years ago.
No, today with APR, there's a huge
anymore.
emphasis on academics. That's correct. So I'm heavily involved with our academics, compliance rules, things like that. And then my third job, which I think is actually the most important job, is my job is to look out for the student athlete. I'm really supposed to look out for the institution and the student athlete. It's not my job for them to win. That's coach's job. My job is to make sure that the student athletes are treated well, they're treated fairly. I travel with them to see the conditions that they have.
Really?
I travel spot check them.
How fun.
Go with soccer here and there, volleyball, football, just to see how they're treated by the host
so
teams.
often, my husband's from Nebraska, and you know how they are with their Huskers, and I see it with some of my friends who are major fans, and they put so much pressure on these young men, whether or not they win, whether or not they lose. And in reality, now that I have a 12-year-old, I'm realizing they're just really big kids. They're really quite young, and they've got a massive amount of pressure on them.
I think there's a lot of pressure on young kids today. I tell all of our student athletes at UCF, and there's a great commercial, I don't know if you've seen it on, that says, I'm a NCAA student athlete and 99% of us go pro in something other than our sport.
Right, I do love that.
It's a great commercial, and we tell everyone, even football, the average number of years that a man spends in the NFL is 3 years. And so at the ripe old age of 25, right, what is your plan, right? And so we put a lot of emphasis, especially the APR that the NCAA has out, on them graduating, getting meaningful degrees, and having a plan, career development. They have to have plans for after.
And you see that even with some of the pros. For Shaq, for example, he didn't have to go back and finish his degree, but he made sure he did.
Yeah, no. There are a lot of, I think it's a wonderful story. A lot of our players actually come back. They just don't make the headlines. They do come back and they do finish. They do graduate. Right,
because it's usually the bad stories that get a lot of attention for that. So how do you fit all this in? I mean, how do you do all of that and the research and the teaching? And
I think that one of the things I do best is I get bored quickly, so I like to have a lot of things going on at one time, and I think that it's sort of a nice balance. It's just like working out and reading. It flexes two different things. And so I think that to me, the athletics is just such a fun job because you get to be around student athletes and you get to be around a lot of people. The research, you get to really probe problems that not a lot of people are even qualified to probe. So I think that's a fun side. And I wouldn't do any of this if I couldn't go in the classroom. So teaching is the absolute first love.
Got to be organized.
Yeah, you're organized. I don't have any kids yet. So I think I've got time.
None with only 2 legs.
No, right, so I've got a husband and 3 dogs. So those count.
Now, talking about the dogs, and when I met with your husband, we talked about them too. That's a huge part of your life.
It has become a part of my life. It wasn't in the beginning.
Is that through him, the dogs?
It's through him. I like dogs, had dogs growing up, but never at the level of the competition.
Serious dogs.
I mean, his dogs behave, right? So our dogs sit when they're told to sit, and they kennel when they're told to kennel. I will tell you that I've never had, this is the first time I've ever had a puppy at such a young, 6 or 8 weeks we got her, and she really is mine. And that attachment, I told him the other day, I'm like, I can't believe how attached I am to this animal. But you do. They become part of your family.
We got ours at 8 weeks. And I love the story you told me about her, about Ellie.
Yeah.
Can we tell it to me again?
Right. So my husband, when he asked me to marry him, gave me this fabulous ring. And of course, he jokes that it cost him several dogs. But one of the things we did as sort of an engagement present was we bought this dog together. And so our names are in her. So her name is Laird Sinful Elegance. And Chris's middle name is Laird, and my nickname in college, which we won't go into, was Sinful.
You stopped me already. You know me too well.
And Elegance, we thought was beautiful, and we call her Ellie. And she's just, I think my favorite thing about her is she's a great competitor. Chris, I think, told you that she won a big competition the other day. My favorite thing about her is she's happy all the time. She's happy playing, she's happy when she's peeing, she's happy competing. I mean, she's just a happy dog.
You think it's a retriever? My guy, well, he's either very happy or giving me guilt. He gives me a lot of...
Yeah, well, they're good at that. We have one that turns his back when he's not happy and he lays down.
Yeah, this is the first retriever I've had, and they're really such pleasers. I don't know that ours is Einstein of dogs, and he's very jealous. If one of my kids comes sit next to me, he moves them.
Oh, sure.
He pushes them away.
If one's getting scratched, the other one pushes him out of the way to get scratched.
Right.
I will tell you that my husband goes hunting every so often, and when he took the dogs the last time, it was eerie.
All 3 of them did he take? Well, one doesn't
one's
live
in
at home.
training.
One's working.
The 2 went hunting, and I called them. I'm like, you're never taking all of them again. It was eerily quiet in the house.
Well, that's why I think I told you why my kids didn't want us to train Lincoln to go hunting with my husband because they couldn't have Dad and the dog gone at the same time. Now these dogs do field trials.
Correct.
That's a massive amount of training and commitment and time and all of this. And I heard you were quite excited when Ellie won.
Yeah, well, my husband saw me afterwards and I was covered in clay. He's like, what happened? I'm like, well, she sort of jumped in my lap. Yeah, we're very proud of her. But I told him, even if she didn't win competitions, I'm proud of that dog and I'd take her back home. But, fortunately and unfortunately, she's doing very well, so she's still in training. She just went north for the summer, so we won't see her again probably until the fall.
But he said when you come back, she knows you.
Oh, absolutely.
She knows that she's your dog.
Oh, absolutely. If she hears my husband's truck, when she's on the pro site, she knows. I'm always surprised with that, how they do know. as much time as they spend with the trainers, how they know us, and they're so bonded
You know,
to us.
my mother-in-law, when she spends time with us a few weeks at a time or a few months at a time, she'll tell us that 5 minutes before we pull up in the driveway, the dog knows. That he'll go and he'll look out the window and he'll wait. Somehow they know.
They just know. Well, it's just like I've got a yellow lab, Blue, who I'm his stepmother since I married in. But he has this thing. I told my husband I get a FedEx or UPS every day, and he has this thing with the UPS and the FedEx man. My husband says because he wins, but the second he can hear it from about a mile away, he knows and he's standing at the door. And
he likes him or he doesn't like him?
Doesn't like him. The second he pulls up, he's barking, and he barks until he leaves. And so it's funny how they do have those sensories that you don't hear.
And they either like or don't like people.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Oh,
we had some guy come to the door, and I was home alone with the kids, and I didn't know who he was. He was kind of dirty, and the dog was barking. Our guy's not mean. He's the scaredest dog in the world. And I said, I can't open the door. The dog is vicious. Turned out to be the tree guy from next door who we hired, and from then on he was petrified of the dog.
Yeah, they do. And trust me when I say ours is that dog that you get when you open the door, he's laying there and he sort of just slides. But if he doesn't like you, he doesn't like you. They're protective.
Of all the things you do, which is the one you think is your heart's in the most?
Teaching.
Is it the teaching?
Yeah, I've been teaching since I was, I taught high school. I actually taught high school for
Did you really?
a year in Orange County. My first teaching job was at the Orlando Marine Institute, which is convicted high school felons.
How was that?
It was a great learning experience.
My sister-in-law was a librarian in a similar program. I don't know if it was the same one.
My first teaching job, and I tell everybody I'm 10 times the college professor today because of even that 1 year of teaching high school.
And why is that?
Because I think it teaches you a different perspective. It teaches you a better appreciation that there are diverse backgrounds of students when they come to you. I think as a freshmen that walk out the door, we would like to say that they're not so homogeneous, but they are. They're the elite that have risen to college, right? In this school, they were high school students who were convicted felons, but were not allowed to go back into the main school system. So I got to see a side that I didn't see all the time. One story I like to tell, it was out on Silver Star Road, and we were in trailers, and the shuttle re-entered one day. And what happens?
Boom.
Okay, so the sonic boom hit. I was teaching 6 young men, and they hit the ground, and one dove on top of me. And at first, here I was 21 years old thinking, oh my God, I'm being attacked. And he wasn't, he was protecting me. They thought it was a drive-by. They thought it was drive-by shooting. And the first thing I did.
Different world that they come from.
It's a different world. And I would have never had that experience. And I think I'm much more appreciative now of students in the classroom. Of course, the next thing I did was call my friends at NASA and got a tour. So we at least took them out and they got to do a walk down. Yeah, we did a walk down the shuttle. They did. But I think the biggest thing we need to appreciate as college professors is that not everybody's had the same experiences we have up to now. And you got to connect with each one of your students in the classroom. And so I think that's made me a better college teacher.
Yeah, I've been taking some college courses as well, something that I hadn't done before. And I was talking with my professor because it really surprised me, about half finished. So many people dropped out, and there was a really different attitude than there was many years ago, back in the day when I got my first go around, my first degrees. And he said, oh, kids have changed and the projects are not the same. And I said, but you know what? He didn't actually talk to anybody. And so many had jobs outside of school and all kinds of stuff going on. And it's true, to really, really understand them, you have to know what's going on in their lives.
That's one thing that's very different between teaching college and teaching high school. In high school, you know all the kids, you know their families, you know their brothers and sisters.
You know what they're into, they're doing
you know everything. Yeah. And you're talking to their other teacher who knows and their coaches. But now in college, you don't have that same connection. And that's what we try to do as college professors. We try to reach all of our students in some way. And we do it different ways. Learning all their names, humor. We try everything we can in the classroom, but the biggest thing we're trying to do is just connect with the student. And
I can tell you do, because you're connecting with me right now. Now, I've interviewed the Chases and you guys. What is it like to have both of you PhDs, both of you professors, both of you into research?
Well, fortunately,
you really understand each other.
Well, actually, fortunately for us, we don't, and so for us, we're not in the same area. I think I actually met my husband at UCF, so we went independently and got great jobs, and we actually met at a meeting at UCF. So we met there. It's wonderful that we're not in the same area because we're not in competition with one another at all. And we have very separate lives from the standpoint of research.
But you do understand when the other has to put time into things.
When I had a student who got caught cheating one time, my husband felt the same pain You know, he knew I felt like my heart got ripped out. You know, those are the emotions that you really understand because he teaches too. You know, the politics of a university, you know, complain about something, he knows that too. So those are the nice commonalities. But we joked, we were both on our way to the UK to give talks. We were looking at our slides on the airplane. He looks over at mine, and I look over at his, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And so it works perfectly, I think, for a marriage.
Cynthia's husband is an expert in venomous snakes and
systems and biology.
And so that's very different than math.
Right, we always joke that he always jokes the one class he failed was chemistry or calculus, and I tell him I failed biology, so it's a wash.
But I love the story. I hopefully it won't embarrass him as he's watching the control room, how you guys met.
We met at the University of Central Florida at an undergraduate research meeting. We credit one of the deans that he introduced us. But yeah, he flirted with me and passed me his card and his business card and said, basically, this entitles you to pheasant under glass and a bottle of Jordan and twice baked potato and Boston cream pie. And that was the end of that.
Sounds good. I'm ready to go.
It was fabulous. That was the end of that.
Too, huh?
Great cook. So that was the end of that. So.
Did you have? I like asking. I ask this over and over again to people. Did you have an aha moment? I call it an aha moment when you realize I'm doing just what I want to do, or I'm doing just what I don't want to do, or just the moment where a light clicked on and you realize this is it. I'm on the right path.
Yeah, and it's funny, I share this story with students because I strongly encourage all the students to do summer internships. And they say, why? And I said, because if you find out that that's not what you want to do, that was still a good aha moment.
I did that with law school.
And
I did that with law school. I realized that an internship in a law firm, it was not for me. It wasn't for my personality.
No, it did. I was, as much as I love NASA, and I am thankful that they put me through graduate school, I spent 2 summers there, and I couldn't do the 9 to 5. I figured out real quickly that I couldn't drop my pencil, you know, and go home, and I didn't have the capability to put a problem off till tomorrow. And so I think the thing that, and I thought I was going into industry. I had job offers from JPL and other companies when I finished my PhD. I think the aha moment was that I'm just not cut out for a routine 9 to 5, 12-month job. I'm much better when I'm paid for my job, not my time.
2 or 3 at a time.
2 or 3 times fine, as long as I get to pick the hours and the days. And we do have other hobbies, and it's nice to be able to, you know, have the flexibility in the schedule. And I think that, but that was my aha moment. It was working at NASA, saying, you know, this is great stuff, but I'm gonna work on the same stuff, but I'm gonna do it in a university and get to teach.
Do it in a totally different way.
Yeah.
That's, you know, it's something that people, sometimes they slip them by, their moments, you know, the moments of what is meaningful to you. You have to really take the time to stop and look and realize, well, I'm uncomfortable here. Why is that? Because we're always looking for the positive ones, but sometimes the negative ones can shape your life just as well. So what do you do when you didn't like when the dogs were gone, and what do you do when your husband is in the jungles of Belize for weeks at a time?
It's a mini spa retreat at home. We always joke that.
I look at it as unsupervised time.
It's wonderful. I always tell my husband, he goes, well, I'm going here on vacation. Where are you going? I'm staying right here. You know, my girlfriends and I, my sorority sisters and I all get together once a year. We have our own, and I play a lot of golf. Played a lot last weekend, play more next week. We have our own independent hobbies that we do by ourselves.
So it's really nice, especially you being a researcher and being a mathematician and being a professor, you understand that he has his things he needs to do and you have your own life.
We do real well.
So often, you know, especially talking to my child who's just going into middle school, but they have a lot of conversations about what are we going to be?
Right.
And one of the things that really strikes me working with the university is over and over again, your husband said this, and a lot of people say this, I loved biology, I loved math, but I really didn't know that there were careers other than teaching it. Now, what advice do you have to a student who's in love with what they do but has no clue that there are worlds out there that they can take that thing that they love and apply it and have this fabulous, interesting life?
Well, I actually, ironically, I told you I chair Women in Science and Engineering. We've done several days at the Orlando Science Center called Exploring Careers for Women in Science.
Oh.
And we bring out engineers from Disney, engineers and scientists from KSC, from UCF, and we have them all there at the same time and place. And people
Is it for high school students?
For 6th to 12th grade. There are a lot of programs throughout the country expanding your horizons for young girls, 6th through 12. There are a lot of those academic exploration type opportunities. I would say, instead of, I would be planting into the teachers' minds of where are you going on your field trips this year, and are there some interesting career opportunities for these students to get to see. But you know, it's funny, I always tell everybody, what you think you're going to do today may not be tomorrow. That's why I say it's okay if you don't know where you're going, but make sure you're prepared. Like our undergraduates, make sure you take the courses it takes to get into medical school, just in case you want to go when you're done. And so it's just taking that foundation and taking the interesting, like you were saying, out of the box courses that just may excite you.
You never know.
You never know.
You never know what's going to totally
Nope.
trick your trigger. And you know what? We only have a few seconds left, but one of those career days was for Boy Scouts, and engineering was what my 6th grader is really interested in optics now. And I told him I was interviewing you today. He said, "Oh, cool."
I have some friends at Creel. We'll chat offline.
Yeah, we will. Cynthia, thank you so much.
welcome.
We always run out of time. I have all these other questions, but maybe
We'll see you at the beauty shop.
when our hair's cut again. Dr. Cynthia Young, thanks for joining
Thank you.
us. I'm Charna Davis-Wiese. Thanks for watching Profiles. We'll see you next time.